At this time, I'm going to ask Joe and the first group of panelists to join me here on the stage. And as they're coming forward, I'll give you a little bit of background about our first session. Ever since cabinet maker and former slave Henry Fort started Garner's first known businesses, we've been a community where startup enterprises could find a home and thrive. Let's learn more about the changing face of business, which will be moderated by Town of Garner Economic Development Director, Joe Stallings.
Thank you. I realize I just left my folder at my table, so if you'll bear with me for just one moment. I hope everybody enjoyed the bus tour and learned a little bit about the Connect Conference. It has to be one of my favorite parts of today. But as April said, our community has been a home for thriving businesses, both minority and women-owned, for decades, actually, ever since the inception of our town. And since we've been a community where startup enterprise could come, find a home, and thrive, even today, over 1/3 of our population is represented by minority and women, and we are glad to have that diversity in our community. And our community continues to remain a great place for anyone to start a business and to be successful regardless of race, creed, or national origin. We are fortunate to have and still have such a rich and diverse business community. In today's panel, The Changing Face of Business, will celebrate and highlight a few of the great minority and women-owned businesses in our town and give us insights into why Garner still remains a great place for all people to start a business. With us today is Kentrell Perry, Jessice Throneburg, and Alaksha Surti. Kentrell Perry was born in Raleigh and graduated from North Carolina A&T University with a bachelor's in economics. From an early age, his dream was to be an entrepreneur and also to help the urban youth, and today he's doing just that. Kentrell is the owner and operator of Locks, Nail, Naturals, and More hair salon in downtown Garner, of which I hope many of you all saw today as we passed Main Street, and has 15 years of experience in the field. He is also the owner of Right Now, Inc., which is a nonprofit organization where at-risk youth are introduced and trained on trade and are taught how to be successful in their particular industry. And this is done by teaching money management, communication skills, proper etiquette and attire, and anger management and techniques. After completion of the program, the children are connected with other local business owners and interviewed for job placement. Ms. Throneburg is the owner of Little Details, Garner's premier women's boutique. Jessica created Little Details in 2012 as an e-commerce store for handmade and personalized items and has since grown into fashion, gifts, and home decor. After explosive online growth, Jessica opened a storefront in Garner in 2017 and has been committed to paying it forward in the community and has several fundraisers and events at her store for nonprofits throughout the year. She serves on the board of directors at the Ronald McDonald House of Chapel Hill, which is also Little Details featured nonprofit due to personal connections to the house. Little Details has been nominated for several awards and was named Best New Business in Wake County in Indie Week in 2017. The Triangle Business Journal named Jessica a recipient of the 2016 40 Under 40, and more recently named her a 2018 Women in Business Award recipient. Ms. Surti is the chef and owner of Curry in a Hurry. I'm sure many of you all have eaten some of her great food. A truck that was born out of the passion for cooking authentic Indian cuisine. Alaksha is a personal chef who graduated from the International College of Hotel Management in Australia. She's worked in hotels in Australia, Sri Lanka, Orlando, and London before settling down in Garner 15 years ago with her husband, Nilesh. Her hotel experience continued at the Umstead Hotel and Spa and enjoys entertaining and feeding her family and friends. She started Alaksha's Custom Catering in 2011, and then launched Curry in a Hurry on May 5th of 2017. Now she's ready to expand her business yet once again by taking Curry in a Hurry to bricks and mortar at the location on Morgan Street Food Hall in downtown Raleigh. So needless to say, we have a great example of what it means to be a business owner in the town of Garner, coming from a variety of different backgrounds. And so we're going to ask the panelists a little bit about themselves, their business, and kind of how they came here. And I guess the first question, we'll open it up to everyone and ask that each one of you tell a little bit about your business and how you came to be in Garner. And Alaksha, if we can start with you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Alaksha Surti. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber. Thank you so much for having me here, and the town of Garner for having me here on this panel with these incredible people. I'd also like to start off by saying that I'm no public speaker. Normally, my husband does all the talking. I only do the cooking. But I started, my business name is Curry in a Hurry. It's a food truck. And I started it as a catering business in 2011. I'm very passionate about cooking, and it started as a hobby. And, you know, I loved feeding people here in Garner, introduced them to my Indian food. And then a few years ago, the food truck craze came into the Triangle. And food trucks were very popular in Durham. That's a foodie city. And I wanted to introduce my food in the Triangle area where people can easily access Indian cuisine on the go. So a few years ago, we looked into getting a food truck. We brainstormed some names and got a catchy name, Curry in a Hurry. And we started this food truck last year on May 5th, 2017. And now we serve authentic Indian food. We also serve some Thai curries. And now I'm very happy to announce that we are expanding further to our first brick and mortar restaurant at the Morgan Street Food Hall. That's going to be opening very soon. And we are very excited about that. I hope you all can come and try our food. We also serve here in Garner on the truck. In fact, we are going to be at Zen Yoga tonight. So if you have time, if you're still hungry after you finish here, if you want a late night snack, please come by. We're going to be there today from 5:30 to 8.
Kentrell, what about you and your business? And I know you're a Raleigh native, but how did you make the transition and the decision to come to Garner and start your business?
Well, Raleigh native, but mostly Garner.
Oh,
I mean,
wonderful.
from Kentrell Elementary School, from all the way to Garner Manor High School. So I feel like I'm more so Garner than Raleigh. I was pretty much born in a salon. My family business, my mother has always owned a salon. And that's where I learned my techniques and the idea about, you know, it takes a village and community and so forth. I'm actually kind of honored just to be here because being a Garner, native and now being a part of like the commerce and everything is very special. And one of the vehicles that kind of helped me be successful was the mentors and being able to be placed in different jobs and so forth like that, and learning the trade and so forth. And so that's one of the biggest parts about my business, Lost Naturals and More. We are a natural hair care salon, and we provide services from loose natural hair, from braids, dreadlocks, and so forth. But one of the more I'm not going to say interesting, but one of the things that one of my biggest passions is our Natural Hair Care Academy that we're going to be doing. Hopefully we'll be opening that up in mid-2019. And that's really geared towards helping at-risk youth gain a trade and then also providing them a place within different salons for a place to work. And that was one of the major reasons of me being here today, of having different mentors and so forth, placing me the same way. So, we've been in business for 20 years. The change of arms came about 6 years ago with myself, and we're just ecstatic to be part of the Garner economic development.
Wonderful. We're glad to have you, certainly. Jessica, much the same question to yourself. Being one of the newer businesses, you and Alaksha here in town, Certainly your success on e-commerce is a story in and of itself, as we see the rise of that continue to take a hold of the larger national economy and global economy. What brought you to Garner to set up your business?
Yep, so we started online, and we actually, I started at my dining room table. I was a stay-at-home mom that didn't mean to be a stay-at-home mom. I had a great career but got laid off in 2011, and so I searched for a job for 10 months and couldn't find anything, and said, you know what, I'm just going to create my own path, and I'm not going to wait for someone else to do it for me. So we started social selling at first, so just straight through Facebook, posting items. I was hand making vinyl monograms and doing embroidery, and then quickly realized that you're limited on how much you can sell by how much you can make when you're doing a handmade business. And so when my customers asked if we would think about selling clothing and jewelry, I said, sure, that sounds easier. So we started offering that on Facebook, and eventually moved from just having a Facebook and Etsy shop to an actual standalone website. And we grew really fast. The reason we actually came to Garner is because the nice thing about having an e-commerce business is you have a lot of data at your disposal. And so when we looked at 4.5 years of data, we saw that a majority of our customers were coming from Fuquay, and they were coming from Raleigh, more specifically downtown Raleigh. And so what we were able to do is pinpoint and say, well, gosh, what's in between Garner? And there was not a boutique in Garner at that time on that side of town that catered to both clothing and gifts. And so we saw an opportunity, and we looked for about a year before we were able to pinpoint a space that would allow us to have growth, but also to have great foot traffic. And so it was not mentioned on the bus tour today, but we're in Garner Town Square, which is where the soon-to-be former Kroger and Target is. And so we opened that location in April 2017, and to not really have a big customer base in Garner, we were really surprised by the amount of support that Garner has given to us. And now that store, even though we had thought it would really serve more of the downtown Raleigh and Fuquay crowd, is really serving Garner. And we're just so proud to be here, and so thankful for all the support that we've been given in the short time that we've been in business here.
Well, certainly, opening up a new business, whether it's on wheels or in bricks and mortar like yourself, is no easy task. I mean, a lot of attention and detail go into making that decision. Something that I'm always curious about as one of the people that is responsible for recruiting new companies to this community is, what as a business person, would you all tell someone about opening a new business in Garner? We'll go back to you, Jessica, since you just kind of moved into your place. What would you tell someone that could go anywhere in the world? What would you tell them about opening a new business here in town?
Well, first of all, I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity in Garner, because you think and you look around at what Raleigh has and what Durham has, but there is a lot of opportunity for a variety of different businesses to succeed here. I love the small town feel of Garner, but also being close to a larger city like Raleigh, and it really is more of a community here. So when we opened, we hoped that we would make relationships with our customers, but we never realized how big of an impact they would have on us in shaping how we run our store. For us, we really utilize the community's feedback on products that we carry and price points that we carry, and we're privileged to be able to serve them for a multitude of events in their life. And so for us, I think it's really just that opportunity and the support, and especially being involved in the chamber. I've never seen a chamber that is as involved with their businesses and promoting their businesses. It's just amazing at the support that we have here and that resource that we have in this community.
Well, I'll second that. We do have an excellent chamber. And I think on the opposite, or not on the opposite side, but a little bit different approach with you, Kentrell, is that you've been here for a while. So clearly, you've seen things change over the past several years, probably more now so than ever before. Would your answer to someone looking to open a new business be any different?
Well, I don't know about exactly being different, but just to kind of piggyback on the support, I believe that that's the biggest part about Garner. It's kind of, you kind of think about it being, if you go to like a small university with smaller class sizes and you have a little bit more attention from, the professor, and that could be good or bad. However, it always has been a benefit for myself, especially being in the historic district, and they have their own bylaws and a couple of their rules, and Garner having the foresight to kind of have certain positions to help you through some of the things that you might have to navigate through. I know John and Maury Howe, they have been a very big part of the historic district and revitalizing that and really helping us with like each step of the way about, from signage, from building inspecting, just from start to finish, and even with some of the things of like wanting to do some forecasting and so forth, and I have a point person to talk to and so forth like that, and not only, but the biggest part may be just the community with other businesses. We all, especially in the historic district, we're all one little knit family, and we try our best to help each other out any means possible, and so please come down to Garner.
Rising tides raises all ships, right?
Yes,
That's
right.
for sure. And Alaksha, I think your background is particularly interesting. Whenever I was reading through your bio and realized how many places in the world that you've traveled to and worked in, and then, however, for whatever reason, you find yourselves here to the small town of Garner, North Carolina, I think it's particularly exciting. But what does it mean to you to be a woman-owned business that is from a foreign country, from India, and moved around the world, and to come here? What does that mean to you to have made that change?
Oh gosh, it means the world to me actually, because like you said, I traveled all over the world. I worked in hotels all over. I studied in Australia, and then I came to the States, and I met my husband, and we settled down here. And then I had actually put my my career on the back burner when we started our family. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years. But I always felt that, I've studied and I've traveled and I want to do more with my life. I want to be able to cook because I love to cook. So with the encouragement of my family, I started this business. So, and I wanted to show my kids as well that, it doesn't matter how old you are or who you are. If you have a passion, then you go for it. Nothing should stop you. And that's what I went for over here. And when I opened the business, it was from home, really. It was catering in a very small way because it was more like a hobby, and I love to cook. But I got the encouragement from all the other business leaders here. Dina from Alosi Spa, I remember she used to sit down and give me tips on how I could market my product and how I could market my business. Rita with Garner TV and Appliance, she has supported me so much. She invited me to all the charity fundraisers and backpack of buddies and, Cooks for Books. I know I took part in a lot of those events, and I was able to showcase my food, plus at the same time, I felt really good to be a part of something good in the community. I've had Carol Gupton, who's actually worked with me on the food truck. I mean, what can get better than that, Look at the support I got from her and from all the businesses here. So it's been amazing, and for me to do this, it's a dream come true, and I'm so glad I'm here in Garner. It's a great community, and I just love it.
I'll ask you the same, Kentrell. What does it mean to be in business to you?
Well, I guess it's a certain level of responsibility given my demographic. I know that a lot of times I'm trying to put the best face forward, because sometimes a stereotype may be in the back of my mind, and I want to make sure that I'm giving a proper impression, because this may be the first time somebody is doing business with my demographic or so forth like that, and same vice versa with, I own a salon and just like a barber shop or so forth like that, it's really a community center. And a lot of times it's a place of contact where we can discuss, politics or resources and how to be able to accomplish certain things. And a lot of times people are looking to me to be the face of different places within our culture. And so I think the sense of responsibility and to be successful and to do right and to, help is very much of a village. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was a really interesting thing you said about some of the work you do with at-risk youth, and I know we're going to hear a little bit later on today about some of the programs at the high school about helping kids enter into the workplace. But if you will, just talk a little bit about that program and some of the successes that you've had, and really, the impact that it's had on young youth today.
Well, it's funny you said that because actually Garner Connect High School has the program that you're talking about. And so we actually have 5 kids coming in from Tuesday to Thursday to come in and understand about the business and so forth like that. But really, you do it not for money, of course. It's really right now just a pilot program. We got everything set up to be able to be actually open in 2019. However, we've been doing it for at least 4 years where I have different apprentices and so forth of teenagers. And to see them come from where they come from and all them opening up, them being able to have pride into something that they do. And I think that's the biggest thing, where they can have like a sense of value and to have that value also translate monetarily, where they can use that to, gain money and other tangible things. You just see them have a better ability to be successful.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll agree with you. It takes a lot of folks to help, shape a young mind and get them to be a successful person in the community, and we all have a part to play in that, certainly. One of the other things that's of particularly interest to me is figuring out, how to help small business owners avoid mistakes. Certainly there's enough out there to fall into. And so, Jessica, our next question really, goes around the idea of how to avoid those things. And what do you now that you're, a little over a year in, been very successful in e-commerce and in your bricks and mortar, what do you wish you knew then that you know now? What would you have done different?
Everything.
Everything?
I think we were talking about this earlier. I mean, when I opened up a brick and mortar location, a friend said to me that one of the bigger issues you'll have is your employees. It won't be your customers, it won't be your products, it'll be your employees. And not necessarily saying that they're making mistakes, but just trying to figure out how to keep them happy, keep them engaged. And that has definitely been something for us that, we were rushing to open our doors, and so we wanted to fill our space with warm bodies to greet people and help them. But what I was doing was hiring for an immediate need, but not really thinking about the growth of our business. And so now I'm a little bit more strategic about bringing people in to actually fill a void or to help take things off of my plate, because I feel like I need to kind of do everything. And so that would probably be one of my bigger pieces of advice, is just making sure, especially if you're bringing on a lot of staff, to really think about those staffing needs and not rush into staffing decisions just based off of an immediate need. It definitely needs to be more strategic.
Sure, absolutely. And Alaksha, the same question. Certainly we talked a little bit about your background. You've got a whole lot of experience in a lot of different areas and different parts of the world. But is there anything in particular that you have noticed or that you sit back now in your food truck and certainly going forward into your bricks and mortar store that you say, I wish I would have known that, 5 or, a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever it would be?
Yeah, actually, when we started the catering business, it was, like I said earlier, it was more like a hobby. But I wanted to make it bigger, and I wanted to expand. But at that time, I wasn't sure how to go about with the funding. And being a minority and small business owner, like a lot of other businesses, I think I tapped into my savings, I used credit cards, but then later I came to know about, programs they have for small businesses. We used the Carolina Small Business Development Fund, and they were actually referred to us by our local bank down the road, Fidelity. James and Luke, they helped us, introduced us to them, and we got funding. So if I had known about this before, I probably would have started my food truck much before. So that's something that I learned. Another thing is social media. I never really use social media that much, and I'm still learning. I'm not very good at it, but that's a great platform, to introduce your product, to market, to advertise, to tell people about what you sell, what you do. So that's something that I wish I had known before. And, talking about moving into brick and mortar, now I do need to hire employees as well. And like Jessica was saying, that's going to be a challenge. But, my son, he worked at McDonald's for 2 years. So Doris and Fred, y'all trained him well. So thank you for that. Yes, he's going to be a #1 employee. And, he's now going to be working with us and helping me train all the other people. And in fact, he's given us tips, about scheduling and, you need to make sure you have this in place. And he's learned a lot. So Doris and Fred, thank you so much.
Yeah, it takes a village. Or Doris and Fred, that's all it takes. No, certainly, that is a huge deal. And I think, Jessica, you probably know more about this than anybody, right? The e-commerce part, the Facebook, the social media, all those things playing, a part in today's business world. I guess, Kentrell, I know the hair salons are a little bit different than your normal retail or food company, but I would suspect that type of media plays a role in your business as well.
I mean, of course, it's, word of mouth. Because you can kind of think of like each customer as its own billboard in its own location and so forth, but definitely social media is very important. I mean, we don't have to go into the importance of social media, we all know, but it is one of the vehicles of marketing that does bring in a certain level of clientele. And not only that, but it's also for the training for my own staff, for that, this is a mutual beneficial relationship. So I'm going to promote the business, but you also have to promote yourself. And so it's training them to take pictures of their work. It's giving them the ability, because we have computers and we have cameras and lighting and so forth in my salon, so that they have the ability to do that. Also, like setting time out for my staff so they can do that. So at the end of the day, we close, at 7, but by, 6 o'clock, I like to have it shut down where we can go through, their tickets, or they can go through their, take their pictures and post and things of that nature. So it is very important. Yeah,
it's important for everybody. And I guess this is a question for the entire panel. Certainly the panel today is about the changing face of business, and maybe we should have started out with this, but what is y'all's opinion on the state of minority and owned businesses today? Do you feel like it's never been a better time to get in business, or do you feel like there's still substantial hurdles and a need for education and awareness out there? And I guess we'll start with Jessica, and we just work our way down.
I think it's not even minority business owners. I think it's small business owners in general, that every day it seems like there's a big box retailer that is putting out a small business owner, and it's sad. And I definitely think there are not enough women business owners, especially in the Triangle area. And it is hard because of what you said earlier about financing. I applied for financing as well because I had no viable business background at that time, was denied financing. So I funded out of my own pocket and started with $500 and just kept pouring that back in. And now we're almost a 7-figure-a-year business, but it all started with $500. And not everyone has that liquid money that's sitting there to start a business. And I think it can happen. It can happen for anybody. I think you just have to be really smart about how you do your business and how you start your business. I do want to say one thing about social media. You know, social media is great, but what I see a lot of business owners doing is relying just on social media, and you have to know you don't own those followers, and you don't own any information unless you're collecting it and putting it in another platform. So if you're not building an email list, or you're not building a text service, or you're not doing something where you can get those people after, then you're going to lose out. You know, I started on social media back when social media was free and you didn't have to pay to play. But now, if I want to do any advertising, if I want to reach any of my almost 15,000 followers on Facebook, I have to pay to do that. And it's not really feasible with a small business budget to pour thousands of dollars a month into Facebook advertising. So I would just encourage you, if you're going to start a business or you already have one, think about a multiple approach of how you're going to market your business, because if you're just relying on that one avenue, then you're definitely going to be missing some of that income over the next couple of years, because they don't want to support small businesses. They want that money from Coca-Cola and Mercedes-Benz and all these other companies that have bigger platforms that they can spend more money on them. So that's just a little tip from me to you.
No, that was great. That is certainly definitely words of advice, and that every business owner can take something from. But continuing the same question to you, Kentrell, the state of minority-owned businesses. You know, certainly times have changed. You know, we have come out of the recession, and we're seeing, you know, just here in our own community, exponential growth in all sectors. And I was telling folks on the bus tour today, the vacancy rates probably haven't been as low as they are in our retail, commercial, and industrial sectors in probably 20 years, definitely in the past decade. So how has that impacted minority business, and what do you see, you know, as the state of minority businesses? Is it easier? Is it harder? Is there still those hurdles out there that have to be jumped through?
Well, I think that each, you know, demographic has their own like set of pros and cons and so forth like that, or hurdles that you may have to go through. For minority-owned businesses, I would say that, you know, our forecast, you know, definitely an increase in that. And if I'm just going to go local, especially within Garner, because I mean, we're building up so much. There's more retail space. One of my biggest reasons for being in Garner was the cheaper leasing space. I was able to lease a space for $800, have 5 booths in there, each one at, you know, S amount. We're not going to go into my books, but it definitely provided more opportunity. And I think I keep going back to the sense of responsibility, because it's important for us small business owners, it's important for us minorities to show that success so that others, we can kind of be a beacon of light to them and give them more advice and so forth about how to, you know, mimic some of the things that we're doing and so forth. So definitely in Garner, I think that there's going to be more of an increase in minority-owned businesses.
Well, I think it's interesting because I think everybody in this room, there's someone in our lives that have inspired us to be who we are, to make us who we are today. And I still want to ask you the same question, Alaksha, about the state of business. But just a side question, you know, who inspires you, Kentrell? Who inspired you to get you to where you are today?
There's so many. I mean, that's kind of what I was referring to earlier, just by being in a salon and having many different, you know, mentors and so forth. But I would say, for the most part, is seeing the contrast of not being successful. Seeing people do the opposite things of what they needed to do to propel their lives into a positive direction. And that being my biggest motivator of, no, I'm definitely not going to do that. I'm going to do this. So many individuals, but more so of the concept of having plenty of examples of what not to do.
I understand. Alaksha, we'll come back to you and much the same, ask you the question, you know, about how you see the state of minority women-owned businesses here in Garner, and I guess here in the Triangle. You know, do you see the future as being bright?
Yes, absolutely. I can give you a handful of women-owned businesses here, and we've got Dina, like I mentioned earlier, with Alosi Spa. We've got Kara with Zen Yoga. We've got Rita with Garner TV and Appliance. And these are all dynamic women, And the business leaders over here, they support each other. When I started the food truck, Kara, I'm in collaboration with Kara with Zen Yoga, so I take my food truck there, and then her followers come, her customers come there, they eat at my truck, they have wine at her place, do yoga, and we take care of each other that way in collaboration, so we can help each other. Everyone in Ghana is a very tight-knit community, so there's a lot of potential, a lot of growth, a lot of opportunities for anyone who wants to start a business, whether it's a woman or a man or young, old, it doesn't matter, because Ghana is there to support us. The chamber does so much for us. They give us opportunities to network and to promote our businesses. There are a lot of events that we can take part in just to showcase ourselves and, talk to people and get to know each other. So I think there's a lot of potential here. And if anyone wants to start a business, I think Ghana is the place to be.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I was going to ask, we talked about why you all came here, and then asked, what you guys would tell other people about opening a business in Garner. And I think the same themes that come out year after year, whether in this conference or talking to small business owners alone, is that you find out that it is a tight-knit community and that there is a support group. And much like a child, it takes a community also to start a business and keep one successful. Jessica, you went from e-commerce to bricks and mortar, and certainly the future seems bright for you. But where do you see little details in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we've talked about a second location, and we've looked at spaces. And for me right now, that's not, I think, in our path. I feel like maybe we'll have a warehouse potentially and focus more on the e-commerce side, because e-commerce, if you're not selling on the web, then you're missing out on sales if you have products to sell, for sure. So for us, maybe doing that. But I will tell you, kind of right now, I kept thinking like what our 5-year plan would be, and then I keep thinking like I'm kind of happy where I'm at right now. I feel like we're continuing to grow every year, and I feel like the future in Garner for us is definitely bright. I think our big thing this year, we aren't really focusing so much on sales goals, which sounds strange for a retail space. We do a lot of fundraising events in the community for nonprofits, and Ronald McDonald House is near and dear to my heart because our family stayed there when my son was in the hospital for 160 days when he was born. And so for us, it's more of just thinking about how we can continue to give back and how we can grow partnerships with the community, because that's really why we wanted to open up a retail space, was to have more community involvement. And so I think that's kind of where we're going to focus the next couple years, is really just trying to grow our Paying It Forward program and just doing more with partnerships. I know we've got a lot with the schools coming up next year, and we've got some other nonprofit organizations that have reached out. So I'm just excited to see about what we can do for them, because really we're nothing in this room without our community, and we really need to think about how we can help others who've obviously helped our businesses grow.
Certainly. It's great timing that we've had this panel today, and I think one of the things that we're seeing in economic development is a larger focus on the idea of inclusive economic development. Not just focusing on bringing in, large businesses that will create, high-paying jobs, but ensuring that everyone in our community has a great chance at making a better lives for themselves and families. And so one of the questions I guess we'll start with Kentrell is to ask you, how can we, certainly as the local government, but we as a community, as the town of Garner, better support and encourage minority-owned business and women businesses here in our town?
More money, no.
Drop the mic.
That's an awful quick answer.
I think the biggest thing is just being able to provide, I know in the historic district, they have different grants and so forth to kind of help us, upfit our spaces, being able to provide more jobs and so forth like that, and increase employees' benefits and so forth. And more funding helps us do all of that. Just like my panel member was telling me about, was saying that you're starting. A lot of times you can't get that type of funding, so you're having to come out your pocket. You're having to talk to family members or empty out your savings and things of that nature. And the ability to be liquid is so important, and because that loan bill is coming. And so it just takes away from other things that you want to be able to do. It takes away from you being able to want to expand and so forth like that. So just different opportunity for more grants, different opportunities to, I don't know how to, just to be able to get more funding and so forth like that.
Alaksha, the same question, certainly, with your business, you talked a little bit about some of the struggles of finding financing, and Kentrell hit on the funding piece of that. Would there be anything else out there that would help businesses like yours or not in that same sector get the necessary things they need to start a company? How can we as a community be a better encourager and supporter of minority and women-owned businesses?
Well, whoever wants to start a business over here in Garner especially, I think they need to tap their resources that are here. Some of the resources that the chamber can help with guiding you to certain things that you could, not necessarily with funding, but they have a whole list of the different businesses that can provide you with, for example, funding with the banks. There's a whole list of businesses that the chamber has if you go to their website. So if anyone wants to start a business, I think the first thing is to join the chamber, because they can help you and guide you to the different resources that are out here. So, and the chamber is doing a lot. They are doing a lot, but that's how I started. When I started this business, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do, but I remember going and talking to the chamber, and I said that this is a small business, I don't have any experience, I don't have any funding, but how do I do it? And I introduced my food to the community at the Business Expo that the chamber had organized, and this was in 2011, and that's how I got my name out there. And I'm so thankful that I went and spoke to the chamber, otherwise I would never have started this. I would never have had the courage to start this. But when I went and spoke to them, I had some kind of idea as to what direction and how I can go about doing this. So I think they are the best resource, and they can guide you to all the other resources that we have here in Garner. So anyone who wants to start a business, go talk to the chamber.
Economic developers can help too. Not to take anything away from the chamber or the new business development lady for the chamber, but our office is a little bit closer to here than theirs. That's a great point. It certainly is, and having the Chamber of Commerce that we do is a huge asset for us. And I asked Kentrell this question, and I'll ask you and Jessica the same. Certainly, considering where you are from and all the things that you've done throughout your life, Alaksha, where's your inspiration drawn from for what you're doing today here in Garner?
I would say my mom. Because, we grew up in a very, very humble home, grew up in India. We didn't have much. So my mom used to cook 3 meals a day, Even to have a meal outside was a luxury, and we really couldn't afford that. So I saw her cooking every day for the family, 3 meals a day. So I got used to that. And then feeding your family, to me, is an expression of love and gratitude. So that's what I learned from a very young age. So when I moved here, and I continued that tradition, with my family, to feed them, to cook every day, I stopped my career. I put it on the back burner so I could take care of my family. But then that passion was just growing, I had to cook for everybody. I just wanted my food to go out there and people to try it. So she's my inspiration because of her, I was in the kitchen a lot growing up. I learned a lot from her, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I love cooking, so I'm glad I did it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And Jessica, the same question. Certainly, listening to you talk today, I think there's a lot of folks out there that can understand the frustration with losing a job in the recession and trying to find one. I came out of college in 2011. Trying to find a job was even difficult for recent grads. But where did you draw your inspiration from to go from, laid off to starting a small business to then taking that huge and monumental step to going from simply e-commerce to that bricks and mortar location?
Well, when I started, I've worked retail since I turned 16. I started at the Gap in 1999. That's all I've known. I didn't go to school and get a business degree. I got a degree in social work and never used it. So for me, it was more of the motivation of people that kept telling me no that made me continue to fight for the creation of my business. But now it's more of the motivation of my youngest son, Ford, who keeps me going. Back in 2015, when Ford was born, we had doubled our revenue from the previous year, and then all of a sudden my son came 12 weeks early, and we completely shut down business for 6 months. And there's nothing worse than shutting down an e-commerce business when you lose your social media momentum and you lose your Google search momentum. Everything shut down, and we thought we were going to have to walk away from it. And the thing that kept us going was the community that we had built. Our customers are some of the most amazing customers, and they're the only reasons, people who shopped with us back then are the only reason that we are still surviving and thriving now. That year, in 6 months, we not only met our retail goal, but we also doubled what we did the year before in 6 months. And it was because of our customers. And our son, he does have special needs. He has cerebral palsy, and so he's been told since the day he was born that he wouldn't be able to do lots of things that regular kids could do, like walk or talk or sit or crawl, and he does all of those things. So for me, seeing him at 3 years old push through and be able to do the things that people told him no to makes me want to push harder as an entrepreneur. So for me, it's more of a personal motivation now. And, we get to share that story with our customers and our community, and we get to give back because we're so thankful for the people who supported us. So for us, that's why we keep going and we keep striving to be a great business.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I hope everyone here got to get, learn something from businesses that you may or may not have patronized here in Garner, and certainly we appreciate you three being here today and sharing some of your experiences with us. If you don't mind, let's all give the panel a hand.